Welcome to Blizzard and Bloom, the podcast where we navigate the storms and celebrate the triumphs in business and entrepreneurship. Join us as we dive into stories, insights, and strategies from top professionals to help you thrive in today's evolving landscape. And now, here is your host, Jay Rotinelli.
Hello again. Welcome back to another episode of Blizzard and Bloom. The last episode, we had Greg Thistle, a Northeast Regional Vice President for Site One. Greg offered us a lot of insight on some of the things that Site One is doing, just through technology and training and partnership levels. So that was a great episode. If you haven't tuned in, please be sure to take a look at that. So today, fortunate enough to have Steve Smith with us from Storm Equipment. Steve is a presence in the industry that I'm sure most of you all know. Brings a lot of passion and a lot of experience, and I think the timing's right to have Steve on as we think about Simon here coming up. So welcome, Steve. Thanks for joining the podcast today, and glad to have you here.
Thanks, Jay, for having me on.
Can you kind of maybe give us a little bit background of, I know you and I have chatted, but maybe just for some of the other listeners who don't really know your background, maybe just share a little bit about kind of what you've done and now with your role.
Sure. Yep. As a lot of snow fighters started out shoveling driveways in the neighborhood at the ripe age of 14, and a good friend of mine through school, his father had a lawn service and landscaping snow removal business, so shoveled for those guys, and then got my driver's license at 16 and had my own plow truck in high school and subcontracted work with those guys, and it kind of escalated and the passion grew from there. I just was always in the grounds maintenance industry, but my passion was the snow side. I like both. But I definitely like the snow. 4 years, I'm 50 years old this year. So about 34 years I've been doing it. And fun fact, I've never missed an event in the Minneapolis market in those 34 years.
That's awesome.
Everyone been sick and you name it. And we just trudge through like most guys do. And I love it. So was fortunate to work with that company for 20 some of the years, and then they decided to kind of scale back a little bit, and I had an opportunity to go work for one of the larger companies that were looking to grow in the Minneapolis market, and worked for them, and we built that up and had just an awesome team over there, and they wound up selling to Brightview, which was fine, but not for me. And I moved on to another company in Minneapolis, and we built their grounds maintenance up. Kind of the team went over with me, and we grew that and grew their grounds maintenance and snow. And then they sold to a private equity. And Jordan Smith, that I work for with Storm Equipment, he owned VSI, the liquid sprayer division. So we had VSI sprayers and whatnot from that. So I knew Jordan a little bit through that end of it. And he reached out. He knew I had a place up in the northern Minnesota on a lake, and I fish a lot in the summer, and reached out about asking what a good lake would be to take his boys fishing. And we went out fishing, took the boys out, and I just had a blast. And he just mentioned one day in the boat, he's like, "Hey, if you ever thought about doing something different?" And like I said, for 34 years, I've ran snow operations and been boots on the ground and front lines, and so it never even crossed my mind. And we were bought out by private equity again, and just it was fine, great company, great people. It just wasn't for me, and I ended up over here at Storm Equipment. So
on the other side of the
I'm on
envelope.
the other side of the tracks now. I'm one of those guys that are talking to customers and whatnot, which is something I guess I've been part of in sales. In my operations as director of operations, I used to go with our sales staff quite a bit to go visit with customers and make sure that they weren't promising the customers that it was all going to be done in blacktop by 6 a.m. and give them the real story of what we're going to do and do our best to get it done. And so now I'm on that side, and I'm in the same way. It's like as running operations, I always my goal was always for customer satisfaction, to make sure the customer, it didn't matter what the cost was. We got it done to make sure they were safe and good. And that's how I am on this side too. It's like, if we're going to sell somebody a piece of equipment, I want to make sure it's the right piece of equipment for them and it works. And if they have a problem, they know that they can call at 2 a.m. and we'll try to help them get it through. So
it's pretty cool history. And I know, like I said, you and I have chatted about that before, I think at the New Hampshire Salt Symposium, but it's always just different to have a different spin on it, right? From from a manufacturer level or supplier level
Sure.
versus, being the end user. So oftentimes, like you said, we the same way with Piscataqua that we work for and many other folks in the industry, but we're always pushing the envelope, right? And trying to make things better for the customer. And at the end of the day, how do we do that and what does it look like? Um, Ton of admiration for Jordan for what he's done
Yes.
with the industry. He's just a huge advocate for us folks, along with that liquid process. So, seeing some of the things that you folks are doing, I'm interested in your mind, to think about and chat about just some of the technology and how it's changed, and some of the tools and resources that you folks now are offering to the end user and the contractors in the market. And what are some of those things that are helping those folks in driving it to make the difference?
Well, one of the things is, our primarily, we sell metal plus plows here at Storm Equipment, hydraulic wing plows. And, back in the day, everybody ran pickup trucks with, mostly straight plows on them and whatnot. And we sell hydraulic wing plows. And for myself, even on the operation side, to switch from running a push box to a hydraulic wing plow was just there was a little bit of a learning curve. I won't, lie. The first 3 hours of running one, I didn't care for it. And I tell the guys a story that that are new to that type of plow, the story all the time. But once you started running one of them, the efficiencies and what you can do with it, it's basically like everybody knows, like the Swiss Army knife. You can do so many different things with that knife. Same thing with the hydraulic wing plow. And it doesn't matter, like I said, we sell Metal Plus. There's all different brands out there and what works for you. But the efficiency of those is just, it's crazy what you can do, and the lack of, like, say, support equipment you need to go with your normal box to be able to do that. And then we took it at Storm Equipment with Jordan's leadership and Phil Holtz, our president's leadership, one step further. The hydraulic wing plows typically all have wiring harnesses that go from the plow inside the cab of the loaders or skid loaders to run the wings and, to switch your valves for the hydraulics and whatnot. We went to, they developed a wireless system for that called Storm Vision. So you can actually run it from inside the cab without the wire harness going to the unit. So a lot of times, that was one of the things, like if you're out plowing snow and you got this wire harness and a chunk of ice or something comes over and wrecks that or whatnot, plus the time of setting up that unit, you're looking an hour, a couple hours a unit to set up and wire. Now you can just kind of plug and play that unit. It's ran Bluetooth. So you put your box on the plow, got a cab control box inside the cab, 25 minutes, a half hour, you're installed or up and running. So a lot of these guys that are leasing loaders or renting equipment, instead of having to go through, that was one of the things, it's like when even us, like when we used to rent our equipment, it's like, man, I don't want to invest a couple hours in the preseason and after season to pull this wiring out to get the machine back. Now all of a sudden it's just plug and play. That's been a huge game changer for the industry. And not to mention, if you had a loader go down, you can easily switch that components over. Your plows already has the box on it, so just to put it on a different loader, you can do that. You don't have to wire it up and say that loader doesn't work for that plow anymore.
Interesting.
So that's been something in the last year that's been super, super cool for me. One of the things that's super cool for me too is each inside the cab, they have an iPad in there and it's got a level indicator. So a new operator, old operator like myself, it's like, it's got, green, yellow, red. If you're green, it means go. Red, you're doing something wrong, and it'll show you the angle of attack, and that'll definitely go for and show the operator, hey, you got too much heel or too much toe, so you're not wearing out components as fast as well. So
I remember you showing that to me at the SALT symposium in New
yeah, New
Hampshire,
Hampshire, yep,
and never had an opportunity, and we plan to connect with you to take a look and start to try those pieces out. But we talk about all this innovation, right, in technology with some of this equipment, but then there's the training component to it, and you know you'd like to think year after year you get the same folks back, because it's not always your standard folks that throughout the year.
correct,
And you get some guys that are just come on, or gals that it's seasonal, right? And when I think about those pieces of equipment and technology, it takes that whole process from all different facets, from a safety perspective, from a usage and wearing on the piece of equipment, to a whole new level. And I think that's great. And to your point, being able to take that off of one machine and onto another. That's pretty fascinating.
It
And to
is.
and I think about, like you said, you came from the other side of the tracks, and now being that other person, it's got to be a pretty good feeling to be able to talk to the contractors and educate them on that. One of the things I know that you're really good at, and I hear often about, is you help contractors and educate them on really the right components or the right pieces of equipment that
Yes,
would benefit them.
it's like, you look at the equipment, Jay, you've been in the snow industry a long time, and there's so many different tools out there to use, from buckets to pushers to wing plows to truck plows and whatnot. It's like you go into any shop or any plow shop and they got their mechanics toolbox, right? You open up that toolbox and there's so many, not everything's fixed with a vice grip. And I've used this isn't like the sales speech that I learned. This is like what I've done in life. It's just like with our snow equipment, there's so many different pieces of equipment to get the job done and to get it done successfully, and efficiently. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great stuff, and I think I've really seen, and I'm sure you have too, but I've seen the technology and the level of professionalism in the snow industry really elevate in the past 20 years.
Yes.
It's no longer, hey, you got a truck, and you got to put a plow on it for the winter, and you go out and you plow snow, right? It's because all these other things come into place. And when we think about SIMA and some of these other organizations that are help training and out there, elevating the industries, it's pretty cool to see. And again, when you start to see this technology come into play, so we're taking, what you folks have done and really accessorizing and making better a nice piece that was already out there, right?
Correct.
So we're
Correct.
taking and doing that. I know there's some that haven't embraced the change in the technology, and I feel like maybe some of them are probably starting to fall behind if they're not embracing it.
It's one of those things. I was kind of, I don't feel old, but I was one of the old guys doing it. And I was the same way. You're kind of set in your ways for so many years. It's super cool. When I turned 50 years old, if you got it on the video, I don't know if I can pull it up here. They got me this as a birthday present. So this is a Western T-handle controller, and like it was the coolest gift. This is what I started with when I was 16, and it was already kind of old then, but I
That's
have it on
awesome.
my desk, and it's not because of the show. It sits on my desk every day, and I actually look at it, multiple times a week, and it's just like how far we've come since those days, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, back in 1991, we had a major snowstorm on Halloween here in Minneapolis that was it was early for us, right? Guys were out doing fall cleanups, and all of a sudden it's rain. The old story: rain changes the sleet to snow. We wound up getting 31 inches and 50-mile-an-hour winds. Back then, a small frame bobcat, a small bucket, and a pickup truck was your option. Nobody ran wheel loaders. The excavators did, but they had buckets. So now you got 31 inches of drifted snow over these parking lots. It's like, what are we gonna do? Luckily, it came on a Thursday, and we had all weekend to do it. But I mean, if that happened, not now with today's equipment, it would be a piece of cake. It's like, bring it on. I want it tomorrow.
Right,
But
right.
but back then, it was just like it was crazy.
I know, listen, I've seen and watched some really cool things that you folks are doing out there at Storm Equipment, and one of them is a Storm Academy.
Yes.
And I belong to our local snowmobile club up north where I have a camp, and we use different types piston bullies and different things for snow. And I was at an event the other day and they had snowmakers. And I was showing one of the guys, I says, I know a gentleman and a company over in Minneapolis that actually brought on snow equipment. They're making snow for people to see and train on their equipment. And like, you're kidding me. Like, it's really come to that. It's gone that far. So I was thinking about Storm Academy and what all of you have done. So again, for some of the listeners who maybe might not be or might not know about that, can you talk to us a little bit about the Storm Academy and what you folks have done with that?
Yeah, definitely. So this was our first year of doing it. It was an idea that came to fruition. Jordan was thinking about it. It's one of those things, being in the industry, running operations for so many years. It's always in my back of my head. We'd always do our fall rodeo, plow rodeo in October here in Minneapolis for training. And we'd have our vendors there showing how the equipment works. And occasionally we'd throw some mulch on the 70-degree asphalt and push it around. But by the time it snowed, those guys kind of forgot about it, and it wasn't real world, if that makes sense. So we purchased snowmaking equipment. We have right now we're sitting about an acre that's going to expand this year of asphalt, new asphalt we put in. We brought in old semi trailers. We got tractor trailer. There's the trailer sitting there so you can run your different van wings and back drag in between them. So it's basically a full on course of snow for training with the different equipment. And the thing that's got me like it gives me chills to think about is again, storm equipment. We're a Metal Plus dealer, right? That's all we sell. We have every major vendor that sells snow equipment is part of this.
Really?
Down at our pad, I mean, you name it. I won't name them off because I'm afraid I might forget one. But basically, everybody we sell against and they sell against us has their equipment there, and it's just a level playing field. These guys come in, they're reps from their company and help with these events, and it's not a sales. There's nothing like the part of it is super cool is everybody's on the same page. It's for the industry. It's not, hey, look at my plow's better than your plow, or this plow does this and this doesn't do that. It's somebody can come in, and if they're running that piece of equipment at their facility, they can train on it. You know, you get some newbie loader operators. We've all been there. We get these new guys. We do our rodeo. We give them the quick 10-minute. This is how this goes. See you later. I'm off to the next fire. You know, and then as you're driving to the next fire to put out, you feel bad because you didn't give them time. You're kind of setting them up for failure. And now they can sit here. They can spend the whole afternoon. You know, like, hey, what does this switch do? What is this? What is that? You know, what's the benefit of snow tires and what's float mean? All these different terms, and they can spend the time in the day, 2 days a week. I don't care learning how to do it. So when it comes time to do it, they're safe and they're efficient, you know? So
In a controlled environment.
correct. It's a controlled environment. And like I said, we have more vendors reaching out. I got a whole list of them that want to be additional to this for next year. This past year, it was new. Minneapolis, we were having 50-degree weather in February. So it wasn't a prime season to even make snow here. We had a super below average winter again, 2 years in a row. But we were able to get 4 events off this year, 4 successful events. This year, we already have a calendar booked of 12 events, and then we're looking to add additional ones as time allows. So it's super cool. It's this first year we didn't charge anything for it. Storm Equipment just flipped the bill. The vendors contributed their equipment, which was you can't thank them enough for doing that in their time of being here. This year we're looking at like a minimal charge. And it's going to be an open book. This isn't a profit center for us by no means. This is giving back to the industry, promoting what we do. Like you said, the level of professionalism in our industry in the last, what would you say, 5 years at least?
Yeah.
And I'd say 5 years has really increased, you know?
Yeah. I think that's great. And it's actually fascinating to me
Mm-hmm.
to even think that, that there's something that exists out there. And then I think about SIMA and all of these things start to come together. Typically what happens in our landscape industry, grounds management. So when you talk on a local level, folks sometimes don't want to share information, right?
Correct.
Everybody's very protective. But when you open it up, even regionally or nationally with SIMA, and we start to have folks like Storm Equipment and yourself and Jordan really start to give back to the folks in the membership. It's amazing how far we can advance the industry
It is.
because we're all willing to share. A prime example is that when you talk about the different manufacturers that have staged equipment on your site, and you're allowing them to do that, and it's fascinating to me, and I'm sure it is to others as well. And I know there was a couple groups out there over the winter. One of the groups with innovations with the ladies, they had a day out there, I believe.
Yes,
Working with
Women in
some of the
Snow
equipment.
were out here with. They had, I believe, it was 14 or 15 members of their group that were out here. Darcy, that works here at Storm Equipment's one of their ambassadors.
Okay.
We had a whole group of ladies out here, and all the way from operators that were operators out in the field to ones that are out doing sales to office, all aspects of our industry were here, and they were able to get in and run this equipment. We did some classroom stuff just on like estimating and basically just snow talk, and it was so fun to have them interject and be part of that. I was blown away with it. It's pretty cool.
It's cool that there's that group of them, of those ladies that are working through that, and I've been following it. And I don't know a lot of them, but I know some of their spouses, and everybody had really great things to say
Mm-hmm.
about the event and what you folks are doing. So that, that was really cool in itself. There's two more things that I really, one of them I want to talk about is the liquids, and then I want to talk about the storm fighters. But the liquids, do you see that advancing even further than it is currently right now from a technological standpoint or user abilities, anything like that? Is there anything on the horizon from a liquids? I know Jordan's he's been the driving force. I feel like he and a few others in that, in that sector with
Yes.
liquids for
Yep.
sure.
Obviously,
And
obviously, VSI, was sold off or partnered with Boss Snowplow, so they're doing the development and stuff on that now. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to keep growing. We need to start reducing, as an industry, the chlorides, right? But to do that, in my opinion is, and I'm sure the opinion with many others is like the frivolous lawsuits that go with it, right? Like they expect their parking lot to look like it does in June all year, and to get it that way, we do have to put chlorides down and whatnot. But it doesn't mean to go and keep pounding it, right? You put your application down. It doesn't mean just keep sending that salt truck back through every 10 minutes. Give it some time to work. But yes, I mean the liquids, as far as just use. I mean, when I was in operations, our first liquid tank was basically toggle switches, and you turned them on, and you sprayed some stuff. Did we know what we were doing with it? Absolutely not. But we were putting white liquid lines down, right? We didn't have training. We're out winging it. And now it's you run these sprayers off your phone now, and it's your gallons per acre going down. I'm blown away with it. It's awesome. I'm not a techie guy, but that stuff is super, super cool to me.
yeah, I think about those innovations too, right? And I think about, I mean, let's face it, you and I are getting older. We're about the same age. And,
Hmm.
as we start to phase out in our careers, I think of some of these younger folks and they're all about the gaming and the technology, right? And
Yes.
it's not a knock, it's an observation. So, when we do things like that, and I heard you talk about using a phone or an app for that,
Yes.
right? There's an app for everything. It's amazing to me because I know exactly what you're saying. We took the old juice crates, we took a piece of PVC and we punched some holes in it, right?
Yeah.
And you
Yes.
started that
Yep.
thing, and then you got in the truck and went as fast
And
as it
man, when
made
we did
sense.
that, we were something, because we were so far advanced to the guys that were just throwing rock salt.
Yeah.
We didn't have a clue what we were putting down, but we were blazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So in my mind, I'm like, I think it's great for the younger generations, that are coming up through. And, I know there's some things taking place out in Minnesota and, we have it here in New Hampshire, the Salt Symposium. They've passed some legislation for some protection for the contractors. But along with that, comes training, right? And the
Yes.
advocacy for it and the documentation. I'd love to think that's going to keep moving forward. I know Phil is doing a lot over here in the Northeast with
Phil,
New York and
Phil Sexton.
Phil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I've heard there's some movement on it over in the Minneapolis area or in Minnesota in general. But, when we start thinking about how we're educating ourselves, I think it's only going to make us stronger as we make our pitch to these delegates and to the government to say, hey,
It just
listen, like,
goes back to the professionalism too, of what
that's
what
right.
we're doing, and it's just like, hey, this isn't a bunch of folks that are just sitting on a couch with cowboy hats waiting for it to snow in our pickup. It's this
Yeah.
is
And,
this
and
is
there's
safety.
some, I've seen some municipalities that have tried it. And quite frankly, I don't think they've had folks like yourself or Jordan be able to educate them. And it was short lived. And that was a few years back. But I think of the advancements now. And I say to my own team, if you're not embracing the technology and move forward, then you've fallen behind because
Yeah.
it's moving so rapidly, right? And
Nope.
now
I
we
have
have
a
AI and things are changing
I have a good
dramatically.
friend of mine that did the tote with the PVC boom and didn't find it beneficial, because he wasn't getting the results. So he just, hey, this doesn't work, right? Well, it didn't work then, but it works now. So people just need to look at it and go with it, right?
Educate themselves, right?
Correct.
There's so many
If you're not
resources
getting
out
on the
there.
train, you're getting left at the station.
That's right. Yeah,
So
that's right. One of the things that I know everybody's been following, but the Storm Fighter, the video that you folks have been working on, and I think it's so cool. Like I used to watch Deadliest Catch and Northern Woods Law and things like that, and to think of what you folks have done for the industry and for us true snow fighters. Talk to us a little bit about that experience and what that's been like, putting a group together and then getting out there in the storms and videoing and what kind of the what your folks' vision is kind of for the end result of that.
So the storm chasing did kind of spear off of the deadliest catch, that type of deal.
Yeah.
Jordan and Steve Velarde, Jeremy Lindstrom from the Snow Jobs podcast were all talking about it, and they put it together. And I, fortunately, I get to be part of it, and I kind of help organize a lot of it. And I'm out in the field with the crews doing it. This past season, we did six companies that we went through on 6 different storms with them, kind of from the pre-storm, pre-game to the the final. We put 1 episode out already. 1 episode was out 3 weeks ago with Glacier Snow Management out of North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota, which was a great episode. We had over 20,000 views on it already, which blew us away because we had no idea. We had no idea what we were gonna, viewership or interest or whatever on this. And another episode hits this Friday, 7:00 Eastern time, of a company out of Cleveland area, Lake Effect.
Okay.
30 inches guaranteed, but we'll watch it. We'll watch the episode. It's a great episode for that. And then we have 4 more coming. So they'll all be out by SIMA. Every episode will be out pre-SIMA.
Great. I was last week I was with some friends and I brought it up and I showed it to them and they were just enthralled with the process and not only the quality of what you put out there, but back to our points about the technology and really the professionalism. Like, I had no idea.
The technology and the professionalism, but the really cool thing is it's like everybody on, Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever puts out, the picture of the loader going by and it looks cool with all the strobe lights and stuff. But there's a lot more to this behind the scenes. That's the fun part when it all works and the plan goes together. But there's a lot of stuff that breaks down, as we know, and
Sure.
It's the show, our industry, we're out there, we see it, we live it, we breathe it. But for me, this was even more, it was to show these property managers in management companies and facilities, what all goes with this, right? This isn't just, they look at it on a spreadsheet and you're a number on a piece of paper, right? But they don't know what that Cat 938 loader does, or the LaRue blower on the front, or that doesn't mean anything, which is fine. They have a lot to worry about anyway. But now I sent it to a whole group of property managers and I got some responses back and we're like, this is what you guys do at night. They have no idea, and I think we're doing this. We have some help with this and whatnot, but we're doing this. This is going back to the industry. This isn't just for like, hey, look at this cool thing. This is for all of us that are in the snow fighting industry, both on the equipment side and the boots on the ground, to promote what we do. Bottom line, we're a first responder. We're no different. I've thought of this for years. We're no different than an emergency service, right? We're out there in the worst conditions. We expect our crews to come in the worst possible conditions where everybody else wants to be on their pillow under the covers. And we're asking these people to drive in the worst conditions to make sure their clients' properties are safe. And that's what we all do. And it's hats off to everybody that does this in this industry. But this is to go back and show what we do and promote our industry.
Yeah. And it's twofold, right? To your point, like you can look at it you could use it as a marketing piece, or if nothing else, an educational piece.
Correct.
Right? For the property managers and the folks that you're servicing, but then also from a recruitment standpoint, right? When we're talking about some of the folks that maybe want to get in the industry, or some of them that maybe even want to up their game that are already in the industry.
Correct.
And how do they up their game? Like, you don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to have millions and millions of dollars to make improvements.
Correct. You don't need all these loaders, and who cares if you have one or none? If you have a pickup truck with a plow on it, you're out doing a great job for your customer. That's what it's about. Right?
Absolutely.
We don't look at anybody different from what they have. We're all in it together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always cool to talk with folks like yourself, and it's an interesting breed of us that are passionate about the snow. And I know for myself, I feel like maybe I kind of lost a little bit of interest maybe back in like the early 2000s. And then we got into 2020 or even 2015, and the advancements started, right? When we had the live edge boxes starting, or that would flip and trip. And I'm so intrigued by it and everything that like you folks are doing. And furthermore, for the value that you folks bring to the end user, and how you want that feedback of what people are looking for. So not only are you asking for that feedback, but then you're taking that, you're taking it a step further, and you're coming up with these solutions, and then you're helping train them on them. And that's where, like, I look at Storm Academy and things of that nature. Kudos to all of you over there, and hats off to you for really being one of the proponents to help propel this industry and level of professionalism. So
yeah, no, it's just a cool. The culture here at Storm is incredible. Everybody that works here, that's part of it's all somehow related to been involved in doing snow. So we all get it, right? We all get what it takes to get it done and to support our customers and to help grow this industry. So
really great stuff. Really great stuff. Well, Steve, I really appreciate your time today. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can reach out to you and Storm Equipment?
You could just reach out, just look up Storm Equipment, and our numbers and contact emails all right on that, right on the website would probably be the easiest way. Then they can reach out to anybody here on our team. So, or if they want to talk direct with me and just talk about snow, it's not, I can sit and talk snow all day. It doesn't matter if you're looking for a plow or not. That's what I love talking. So.
Yeah, love that. And I was going to say to the listeners as well that it's always a pleasure to talk to you, whether it's at the shows or via LinkedIn or something of that nature. You can always take away a nugget of information that can help you with your business.
Definitely.
That you could share with your team, right? So,
yep, and we'll have our booth at SIMA this year, as we always have, and feel free to stop by. We'll have Storm Chasing episodes planned, and then we're going to do some mini sessions, mini Storm Academy sessions as well, just kind of some Q&A stuff with some people. So it'll be a great time.
Great. Well, thanks, Steve. Thanks for being on the show today, and look forward to seeing you at SIMA. And I hope all of you folks that are listening are making that investment in the time and money to attend SIMA, the symposium. Great folks like Steve here that you'll find truly valuable that can help with your business in a day-to-day fashion. So Thanks again, Steve. And the next episode, we're going to have Brett on from Bobcat Equipment. He's going to share a little bit with us about some of what we can expect with equipment updates and some trends, latest trends in the industry. So cool. Thank you, everyone.
Look forward to it.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Blizzard and Bloom with Jay Rotinelli. We hope you feel inspired and empowered. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Join us next week for more insights and stories to help you bloom in your business journey.